It started with a tweet. Elon Musk, never one to shy away from controversy, posted a cryptic message one April morning: "The game is up. Soros knows it. So does DC." Within minutes, the internet was ablaze. News anchors scrambled. Political strategists whispered behind closed doors. And George Soros, long considered untouchable by elites on both coasts, was suddenly trending, not as a donor or philanthropist, but as someone caught in a storm. No one saw the actual bombshell coming. Musk followed up with a second tweet, his network of influence. "I've mapped it. His time. It's up. The world deserves transparency." Suddenly, this wasn't just online drama. It was a declaration. Musk promised a full-scale release, documents, names, financial trails, and how it all connected back to policy manipulation and quiet backroom dealings. At the center of it all, George Soros. Washington held its breath. Just 24 hours later, Musk delivered. On X, formerly Twitter, he posted a link titled, "The Soros Files," unveiling the machinery. The website crashed within minutes. But not before tens of thousands of users caught a glimpse of what Musk had unleashed: scanned documents, leaked emails, encrypted messages, and most notably, a data visualization showing connections between Soros-backed NGOs, politicians, media outlets, and judicial initiatives across multiple continents. The central theme? Influence. Quiet, methodical, and everywhere. Musk didn't just post evidence. He narrated the drop himself via a live stream watched by over 78 million people. "This isn't about politics. This is about power with zero accountability," Musk said. "For years, people have whispered about how deep this goes. I'm here to prove it's worse than anyone imagined." He then zoomed into a chart showing transfers of funds from Soros-affiliated entities into lobbying groups that pushed for legislation impacting U.S. tech, energy, and education policy. Even skeptics couldn't look away. Capitol Hill was rattled. Journalists were calling each other at midnight. By sunrise, congressional offices were flooded with calls demanding investigations. But Musk wasn't finished. He ended the stream with a cold stare into the camera and one final statement: his reign is over. By the next morning, chaos had erupted across media networks. CNN labeled Musk's exposé reckless conspiracy mongering, while others called it the most consequential data leak since WikiLeaks. But behind the scenes, something far more serious was unfolding. Two high-ranking members of a Senate Oversight Committee quietly reached out to Musk's legal team. They wanted a closed-door briefing. Not for publicity, for protection. The files Musk had leaked included encrypted memos hinting at foreign government coordination through Soros-backed shell foundations. And some of those memos mentioned sitting U.S. lawmakers by name. Meanwhile, Soros's representatives issued a stern press release, calling Musk's claims dangerous and defamatory, warning of severe legal consequences. But Musk wasn't fazed. He responded publicly, "Sue me. Then we can subpoena everything." Behind the bravado, though, his team was moving fast, securing servers, relocating key personnel, and hiring additional security. Private intel firms, rumored to be Soros-affiliated, had already begun probing Musk's associates, journalists who shared the files, and even members of Congress who voiced support for a deeper probe. The fight wasn't just ideological anymore. It was personal. And it was turning into war. Within 48 hours, the retaliation began. A sudden wave of lawsuits hit Musk's companies: antitrust investigations into SpaceX's government contracts, environmental probes against Tesla factories, and even scrutiny into Neuralink's lab operations. But no one believed it was a coincidence. On social media, hashtags like #SorosRevenge and #ElonUnchained trended worldwide. Musk, unfazed, tweeted, "They've weaponized the system. It's what they've always done. Now, the system is under the spotlight." Meanwhile, anonymous whistleblowers started coming forward, reaching out to Musk's investigative team with internal communications from Soros-funded institutions. One file, ominously titled Control Protocols, 2024, suggested coordinated influence over not just policy, but media narratives, university research, and even judicial appointments. Musk's followers weren't the only ones paying attention now. The FBI's cyber division quietly contacted his team. So did an unnamed official from the Department of Homeland Security. They weren't offering threats. They were offering protection. But as allies emerged, so did enemies. Hackers attempted to breach X's internal servers. Disinformation campaigns labeled Musk a radical destabilizer. News anchors openly debated if Musk had become a threat to democracy. The narrative war had officially begun. But Musk had one more card to play. He called it the Vienna tape. And he said once it aired, no one will deny who Soros really is. The countdown to the leak was announced with just 3 words, tonight. Vienna. Uncut. At 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, millions tuned into Musk's special live stream. This time, no flashy graphics, no expert panels. Just a dimly lit screen and a video file with a timestamp, Vienna, March 2023. The footage began with a discreet recording inside a private roundtable at the Palais Liechtenstein in Austria. Musk claimed the source was a whistleblower from within one of Soros's international climate alliances, someone who had secretly recorded the gathering after being disturbed by what was discussed. In the video, several recognizable figures, former diplomats, global health officials, media tycoons, were seated with George Soros at the head of the table. One voice, attributed to Soros, said, "We don't shape public opinion. We own the public lens through which opinion is made." Another participant added, "Once the American tech networks collapse into division, we consolidate the vacuum through new global compliance standards. And Elon, he's the wild card. He must be isolated." The video also included chilling references to neutralizing disruptive figures, controlling educational algorithms, and influencing currency policy via decentralized tech sabotage. When the tape ended, Musk appeared on screen, calm, direct. "You've seen it for yourself. This isn't theory. This is orchestration. The end of free will under the guise of global unity. And they were afraid I'd expose it. They were right." The stream cut out without fanfare. No music. No sponsors. Just silence. But within minutes, it erupted across the world. Headlines screamed, "Elon's tape explosion, global shadow conspiracy exposed, Soros caught on tape in secret Vienna plot, game over for the puppet masters." But this wasn't the end. It was the ignition point. Fallout from the Vienna tape was immediate and seismic. In Europe, protests erupted outside Soros-funded think tanks and NGO headquarters. In Budapest, thousands marched, demanding audits and transparency. In Berlin and Paris, lawmakers called emergency sessions. One EU Parliament member dramatically slammed a USB drive onto a podium shouting, "This is no longer a conspiracy, this is evidence." In the US, the situation turned volatile. Congressional Republicans demanded an official inquiry into foreign influence networks. Several moderate Democrats, clearly shaken, joined the call, risking political suicide. Then came the breaking point. A coalition of former intelligence officers released a joint statement confirming the Vienna audio's authenticity. These weren't fringe names, this was former CIA, NSA, and MI6. The statement read, "Based on linguistic pattern analysis, room acoustics, and metadata review, the Vienna recording is genuine." This was real. And deeply disturbing. Soros himself went silent. His legal team cancelled scheduled interviews. Soros Foundation spokespeople issued only brief denials, labeling the tape selectively edited propaganda. But no one was buying it. Not anymore. Behind closed doors, White House officials scrambled. The administration was being forced to acknowledge the firestorm. Reporters shouted at the press secretary, Has the president seen the Vienna tape? Will there be sanctions? Is Soros still advising policy through back channels? But the most unexpected twist came from Wall Street. Within hours of the tape release, markets reacted. A dozen Soros-affiliated investment funds saw massive withdrawals. Blacklisted contracts. Cancelled partnerships. Even the IMF distanced itself from programs long thought to be under Soros' influence. And then Musk tweeted again. Just 3 words, Phase 2 begins. The tweet was short, but it landed like a missile, Phase 2 begins. Speculation exploded. What more could Elon Musk possibly have? Then, just hours later, the answer arrived. Musk published a digital dossier titled The Soros Playbook, a 93-page document compiled by analysts, whistleblowers, and AI systems running on Musk's own infrastructure. It exposed detailed plans from Soros-funded operatives for influencing national elections, destabilizing currencies, and guiding international crises in directions favorable to global financial elite. Each page had names, dates, IP logs, internal memos, strategy decks. One slide, chillingly titled Narrative Funnels for 2025, laid out how key social justice issues were to be seeded, amplified, and redirected, not for progress, but control. The internet had never seen anything like it. Musk appeared once more in a brief live video. This isn't about left or right. It's about engineered reality. If you don't believe me, follow the money. You'll end up in the same place every time. And people did. Online investigators and influencers began picking through the documents. Independent journalists uncovered coordinated donations to district attorneys, school board manipulation, and judicial endorsements shaped from behind the scenes. Even foreign policy positions from sitting U.S. senators appeared to trace back to Soros-associated firms. By nightfall, the DOJ was backed into a corner. A reporter leaked that top officials were considering launching an independent counsel, publicly. And in an unexpected twist, an unnamed former Soros ally contacted Musk's team. Their message was simple: I want out. I have the hard drives. Phase 2 wasn't just documentation. It was defection. She called herself Athena. A former strategist for one of Soros's flagship policy groups, Athena had spent nearly a decade inside the machine, crafting narratives, coordinating funding pipelines, and managing digital influence operations. Her message to Musk's team was clear: I know where the bodies are buried. I helped dig the holes. Musk's security advisors verified her identity within hours. By the next day, she was flown, quietly, to an undisclosed location in Texas under round-the-clock protection. In a private meeting, streamed days later with her face obscured and voice altered, Athena dropped the biggest revelation yet: the Soros network isn't about one man. It's a hive. George is the symbol. But what lies beneath is a global data engine, tracking emotional triggers, harvesting behavioral data, and pushing mass compliance through precision manipulation. They don't just fund narratives, they simulate outcomes before deploying them. She handed over 3 encrypted drives containing years of internal communications, video call recordings, contract files, and psychological research commissioned by the network. One file was titled simply, Behavioral Override, U.S. Edition, its contents. A detailed breakdown of social media algorithms used to polarize Americans intentionally, testing emotional limits in real time to shape elections, market reactions, and public trust in institutions. Athena closed her testimony with one line that would haunt millions: what you believe was never truly yours. The world gasped. Musk responded just hours later with a final tweet for the night: you've seen Phase 2. The illusion has shattered. Now comes Phase 3, accountability. And with that, global pressure reached a boiling point. Capitol Hill was no longer in control of the narrative. Following Athena's testimony and Musk's Phase 3 announcement, a bipartisan coalition, under massive public pressure, formally introduced a resolution to establish the Global Influence Commission, a special investigative body with the power to subpoena financial records, encrypted data, and foreign partnership disclosures linked to Soros-backed operations. In an unprecedented moment, the House chamber fell completely silent as Representative Daniel Reeves, a centrist Democrat from Ohio, stood up and declared, "This isn't about left or right. This is about sovereignty, ours, and the world's. We were infiltrated without a single shot fired. That ends now." Within hours, over 200 members of Congress signed on. Meanwhile, Musk's legal team published a document dump showing confirmed campaign contributions tied to manipulated policy votes. Key figures in multiple nations were named, including several U.S. senators, European central bankers, and heads of international NGOs. Protests erupted in cities across the world, this time not just against Soros, but against the global institutions that had enabled him for decades. At the United Nations, a tense emergency session was called after a leaked internal email revealed Soros-affiliated advisors had influenced climate funding approvals meant for developing countries, redirecting them to shell corporations in Luxembourg and the Cayman Islands. Soros, still silent, was rumored to have fled to his private estate in the Alps. A private jet believed to be his was tracked circling above Swiss airspace for hours before landing without clearance at a secluded runway. But he wasn't the only one running. Dozens of operatives tied to the documents began disappearing from the public eye. Some resigned. Some deleted all social media. A few vanished completely. And through it all, Elon Musk remained online, steady, relentless. His pinned tweet now read, "There will be trials." Weeks passed. Then months. But the movement didn't fade. It intensified. The newly formed Global Influence Commission began issuing subpoenas. Names once considered untouchable were dragged into the light. Bank records. Communications. Secret offshore accounts. One after another, they came crumbling down. The final blow came when Athena, now fully protected under international whistleblower status, released a fourth hard drive. It was titled, Monarch Protocol. Inside were signed authorizations, emails between Soros and a private AI firm detailing the use of predictive behavior models to manufacture crisis points in nations deemed geopolitically advantageous. Leaked footage even showed coordinated, spontaneous protests seeded through paid actors and micro-influencers. The public fury boiled over. Global media finally cracked. The BBC, Reuters, and even CNN aired exposés. Billion-dollar institutions began dissolving ties with Soros-related projects. Universities returned donations. Foundations shuttered overnight. And then came the trial. George Soros, escorted under high-security transfer, stood in The Hague, charged with coordinated subversion of democratic institutions on a global scale. His opening defense was just 5 words, "I only gave them ideas." But the court had receipts. Thanks to Musk, the world now had all of them. In the U.S., Congress passed the Digital Sovereignty Act, regulating foreign influence on tech platforms and requiring transparency in NGO funding. But the legacy wasn't just legal. Something deeper had changed. People began questioning everything: narratives, media, policies. The illusion was shattered. For good. In a final live address, Elon Musk spoke from Starbase, standing beneath a rocket meant for Mars. The future isn't theirs to script. Not anymore. We write our own code now. The screen faded to black. And across the globe, millions of screens echoed the words burned into the feed: "His reign is over."